Hello, welcome to natemareflix. I am Nate, you are you, and I do believe the next big thing in true crime is here. I really think Netflix hit it out of the park with this new Night Stalker docuseries. My girlfriend and I sat down to give this thing a shot the other day. We didn't watch the entire thing in one sitting. It's just that good. It's just that riveting, and really from the word go, because they kind of have fun with this idea that everything in pop culture right now would have you believe the 80s were a magical time to be alive, that nothing was bad, everything was glitz and glamour and vibrant and fun. Everybody's making money. What a wonderful time to be alive. Heaven on earth, right? Wonder Woman 1984, right? Stranger Things, all this pop music that is derivative of 80s sound must have been the best time, right? No. It was just like any other time. Bad stuff was happening in the world. There were evil people, maybe none more evil than Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. And if you lived in California at the wrong time, then your daily life was being impacted by this heinous, evil monster of a man. Then Richard Ramirez himself really is an intriguing serial killer, and I don't say that to praise him in any way. No, he was a real son bitch, and I'm glad he's no longer walking this earth. But he was intriguing because unlike others, he didn't have a clear MO. This isn't a guy with a type. He doesn't go after one specific type of person. There's no real motivation that you can look at and be like, oh, he's doing these killings because. No, he just loved the devil and he loved hurting people, and he would do it almost at random all across California, which really made it almost impossible for investigators to really pinpoint who was doing this. And he did it with such a prolific pace. Again, not praising this guy. I freaking hate him, and this thing will absolutely make you hate him as well. But a lot of serial killers, you look at this body count and it'll be over the span of years because they can't risk getting caught, or maybe they go out and kill, and it's just satiating enough that their bloodlust can be calmed for a bit. No, he was going out, and over the course of 5-6 months, he was just going out and killing and raping and kidnapping over and over, sometimes multiple times a night. And it's awful. And so of course you're going to root for the detectives, but sometimes in true crime you find out that the detectives, they just weren't that invested, or they're taking shortcuts, or they were dumb, or they were corrupt. I think about The Confession Killer. You look at that and it'll make you enraged at law enforcement. Not the case here, which I'm glad to report. These two detectives, they come off as real American heroes, and you can see how much they sacrifice in trying to bring Richard Ramirez to justice, which only makes it that much more enraging when you see the way that media can really infringe upon justice. There is a woman in here, a reporter, who had, I guess, career ambitions or something like that, but so much so that she was really willing to sell out the public at large for her own career's benefit. That's right, at one point, these detectives, they don't have really much to go off of, but there's just one small detail, one little bit of evidence leaking all these different cases across the state. That's all they got to go off of. She somehow hears about it, and she's like, guys, I'm gonna strong arm you right now. You give me what I want, or I'm going live, and I'm putting out there for everybody to know that you guys are going off of this, and that's how you think you're gonna find your man. Which, of course, Richard Ramirez would then hear, because he was following the case, and he's going to then pivot, make adjustments, and he's not going to do that thing anymore. So he would have been virtually indetectable. They would have maybe never found this guy. Which, why would you do that? Of course you want to, you want to better yourself. You have goals and aspirations. How when so many people have already been harmed, elderly people have been killed, people have been kidnapped, children have been molested and raped, families, lives shattered, robbed, all of this awful stuff. You can't look at that and be like, you know what, I'm gonna let these detectives hopefully crack this thing. It looks like they're really making headways. You want to stand in the way and allow this to go on longer? You are a monster. Maybe not as much as Richard Ramirez, but you have blood on your hands, at least in my approximation. And then this bitch, at the end of all this stuff, and modern day, she wants to be like, yeah, it was really hard. They're trying to be alive. Crocodile tears. You couldn't even get a real tear, and I'm not buying it. I really hated this woman. So comment what you thought about her in the media at large and the way it was portrayed in this docuseries. I thought that was one of the most enraging but interesting parts about this. And then Richard Ramirez himself, just an interesting figure because, like I've touched on already, he would just do it at random almost. It wasn't about any type of person. It didn't matter your age, your race, your gender, any of that. He was just out to do what he thought was the devil's work. At one point, a woman is just begging and pleading for her life and her children's lives and being like, I swear to God, I won't tell police. And he goes, no, swear to Satan. That's how into it was. He's walking around with pentagrams on his hands. He's leaving pentagrams pictograms on the walls and stuff at the crime scenes. This guy is just whacked out of his mind. And then the look of him also adds to the intrigue a little bit, because when his mouth is shut, he kind of looks like a normal guy. In fact, a lot of women seem to find him to be handsome, and they touch on the fact that he was getting love letters and nude pictures and stuff sent to him, because I don't know what's wrong with you ladies. Why do you do this with serial killers? If you understand that, please comment below, because that always just pisses me off. I do not understand that, and I can't imagine finding out that your friend, daughter, sister was sending naked pictures and love letters to a freaking serial killer who stabbed old women and kidnapped and raped young girls. This is not just, oh, he's a bad boy. No, he's a monster, and you are whacked out of your skull if you think that that's attractive. Anyways, I digress. The dude looks, seemingly normal on the outside, but then he opens his mouth and his teeth are just rotted like crazy, and he apparently was walking around this pungent odor constantly, which only adds to the terror of things, at least to me. It's one thing, like, think about how awful it would be to open your eyes and realize that you're not alone in your house, that you were sleeping and somebody has broken in and potentially harmed your loved ones, or is attacking you, assaulting you, and then all you have is this hot, weird bodily odor filling the room, to where even if you survive, you know that olfactory memory never leaves you, that it is going to stay in you and it has to bring you back. And I think that's one of the worst things about this. You really feel for everybody that came across Richard Ramirez, even if they survived, and a lot of them are heroes in themselves. You meet a woman in this thing who was kidnapped and assaulted sexually when she was only 6 years old, and your heart breaks for her. The detectives in this, their hearts broke for her, and it's just all the more reason they were motivated to go out and nab this guy. So that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of people in this thing that you end up caring about and rooting for, all the while really rooting against Richard Ramirez and being intrigued but absolutely disgusted by this monster and all of the inhuman things that he was able to do. But I want to, be honest with this thing. So if I had issues with anything, it would just be two things. One, a little bit too much stylization going on. It's really impressive, and the person who edited this thing, they really earned their keep. They worked their tail off putting this thing together. There's so much going on in the editing side of things, but it's just too much style. The story is riveting itself. There's all these interstitials and sliding. It's a little bit unnecessary. It didn't take me out of it or anything. Sometimes I was just like, okay, get back to the story. Come on, you had me on the edge of my seat. I need to know what happens next. Did they get him yet? I need to know that, so I don't care about you trying to be like, look at this visual. Don't you think it's interesting how it parallels this, or it kind of symbolizes this? I didn't need that in this docuseries. And then the other negative would be that we always think about, where do serial killers come from? Are they like born, or are they made from experience, nature versus nurture? And we still don't have an answer. And this thing even bothers to kind of pose the question. They briefly dabble in his background. They talk about his formative years and all this like awful stuff his parents would do to him, the influences in his life, and it kind of shows you like why he may have been into the whole devil worship thing and why he may not have been a real well-adjusted individual. But that's not to say he should be out here murdering people, right? So it's interesting then that when somebody goes to ask him like, hey, do you think serial killers are born, or do you think they're made? The thing just cuts off there, and that really aggravated me. Like, I want to know what he had to say. Like, why would you taunt that you had the information, that you know what his thoughts were on it, his perspective, he's a monster. This is a monster telling you where monsters come from. I've sat through 4 hours of this thing. At least give me that. Don't just give me, I don't know. I wanted that resolution. I don't know why you'd kind of touch on this as a premise of like, hey, Richard Ramirez did all these awful things. How can a man possibly do that? Where does this come from? Yeah, we're not going to talk about it either. We just kind of want to be like, hey, that's a thing. So there you go. That is my review. Those are my thoughts on this new Netflix Night Stalker docuseries. I think it's worth checking out. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about it. It was highly entertaining and informative, and I'm really glad that they got this guy. I would like to say more, but I don't want to spoil anything. Be sure to comment below if you've seen this, what your thoughts are. But other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm Nate for natemareflix saying that's a wrap.